In the silence of the deep ocean, where sunlight can no longer reach, there are whispers of a forgotten world. A land that once glittered with towering palaces, advanced knowledge, and power so great that ancient philosophers claimed it rivaled the gods themselves. This was Atlantis, the lost civilization that continues to haunt human imagination. Was it merely a story, an allegory invented by Plato? Or was it a memory passed down through generations, a clue about a real place swallowed by the sea thousands of years ago? Tonight, we embark on a journey to uncover the myths, truths, and hidden mysteries of Atlantis. And as the story unfolds, remember every legend has a seed of truth buried within it. More than 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Plato wrote about Atlantis in two of his works, O Timos and O Critias. He described it not as a fantasy but as history, told to him through ancient sources. According to him, Atlantis was an island empire larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. It was a land overflowing with resources, covered with fertile plains, majestic mountains, and surrounded by a vast navy that could dominate the world. Atlantis, he said, was blessed by Poseidon, god of the sea, who built magnificent palaces of gold and silver. Its people lived in prosperity and luxury, their knowledge and technology far exceeding any other civilization of their time. But there was a catch: power often breeds arrogance. The Atlanteans, once noble, became corrupt and greedy. They sought to conquer beyond their borders, launching great fleets toward Europe and Africa. And then came the punishment of the gods. In a single night of fire and earthquakes, Atlantis sank beneath the waves, disappearing forever. This, Plato wrote, happened nearly 9,000 years before his time. If true, that would place Atlantis in the realm of deep prehistory, long before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, even before the rise of Mesopotamia. For centuries, people have debated whether Plato's tale was a moral fable or a true record of a vanished civilization. Historians argue that it was a metaphor for the dangers of hubris and imperial power. Yet explorers, adventurers, and dreamers believe Atlantis was real. And they are not few. From Renaissance scholars to modern-day archaeologists, many have searched for its remains. The idea that an entire continent-like civilization could be lost beneath the ocean stirs both awe and obsession. The mystery of Atlantis took firm hold of Europe during the Age of Discovery. Sailors who braved the Atlantic told tales of strange ruins on distant islands, of fires beneath the sea, of land swallowed by the ocean. When the New World was discovered, many believed Atlantis was found at last. The Mayan and Aztec civilizations, with their grand temples and advanced calendars, were thought to be remnants of the Atlantean people. Theories multiplied. Some pointed to the Caribbean, others to the Mediterranean, and still others to Antarctica. The lost world seemed to hide everywhere, and nowhere. What makes Atlantis so fascinating is not just its grandeur but its disappearance. A city vanishing in one night: what kind of catastrophe could do that? Was it a massive earthquake? A volcanic eruption like Santorini that wiped out the Minoans? Or something greater: a shift of the Earth's crust, a celestial impact, a flood remembered in every culture: myths. From Noah's Ark to the Epic of Gilgamesh, nearly every ancient tradition carries a story of a great deluge. Could all of them be echoes of Atlantis? The legend refuses to die because it touches something universal in us, the fear of losing everything in an instant, and the hope that lost knowledge might one day be recovered. Imagine, if Atlantis truly existed, what secrets of science and technology it might have held. Some fringe researchers even claim the Atlanteans had machines powered by crystals, energy harnessed from the earth, or ships that could fly through the sky. While mainstream historians dismiss these ideas as fantasy, the allure of such advanced ancient wisdom continues to spark imaginations worldwide. But perhaps the most haunting question is this: if Atlantis perished because of its arrogance, what warning does its story hold for us? Plato wrote that the Atlanteans, though once virtuous, fell into greed and corruption. They sought to dominate the world, and in doing so, they invited destruction. This is not merely an ancient tale, it echoes in every empire that rose and fell, from Rome to the modern age. The myth of Atlantis is also a mirror, showing humanity the cost of forgetting humility. Even today, scientists search the ocean floor for traces of lost civilizations. Off the coast of Spain, ruins buried under mud. Near Bimini in the Bahamas, strange underwater rock formations called the Euro-Ebimini Road, which some claim are man-made. In Santorini, the remains of Akrotiri, a Minoan city destroyed by a volcanic eruption, eerily matching parts of Plato-Euro's description. Again and again, discoveries hint at truths hidden beneath the waves. Could it be that Plato preserved fragments of a story far older than we can imagine, a memory of a real disaster carried through the ages? And yet, no one can say for certain. The ocean guards its secrets well. 90% of the sea floor remains unexplored, vast enough to hide entire continents. The truth may lie there, waiting for the day human curiosity dives deep enough to find it. Atlantis is more than a lost city, it is an idea. It is the dream of a perfect world, the nightmare of sudden catastrophe, and the eternal human desire to search for what has been lost. When you hear the word Atlantis, it awakens something primal: wonder, fear, curiosity, longing. This is why, centuries later, we are still asking the same question: was it real? And if it was, where is it now? As the waves crash against rocky shores, as divers descend into the dark blue silence, the legend of Atlantis whispers again. Somewhere out there lies a forgotten kingdom, swallowed but not erased, waiting for us to remember. The story of Atlantis did not vanish with Plato's words. It began to breathe through the minds of explorers, philosophers, and dreamers who refused to accept that such a majestic tale was only fiction. To them, Plato's account was not allegory but memoria, a clue preserved in writing, waiting for future generations to decode. And so the search began, a search that has never truly ended. In the Renaissance, when Europe awoke from the shadows of the Middle Ages, scholars rediscovered Plato. They read about Atlantis with new eyes, in an age when maps were expanding and seas were opening to bold adventurers. The world seemed full of hidden lands, so why not Atlantis? Sailors spoke of strange islands appearing and disappearing in the Atlantic. In Spain and Portugal, stories spread of lands beyond the horizon where ancient ruins could be found. Some even believed the discovery of the Americas was not a new world at all but the old one reborn, the last fragments of Atlantis rising once more. As centuries passed, the legend grew more tangled. Writers embroidered Plato's account, weaving in their own ideas and imagination. By the 19th century, Atlantis had become a symbol of mystery and wonder. In 1882, a man named Ignatius Donnelly published a book called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. He argued passionately that Atlantis was real, that it was the cradle of all civilization, and that its survivors spread knowledge across the globe after the Great Cataclysm. According to Donnelly, the pyramids of Egypt, the temples of Central America, even the myths of gods and floods, all traced back to Atlantis. His book became wildly popular, and though historians dismissed it as speculation, the public devoured it. Donnelly had reignited the fire. With each new theory, Atlantis migrated across maps like a ghost. Some placed it in the Mediterranean, linking it to the volcanic eruption that destroyed the Minoan civilization on the island of Santorini. Others insisted it was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, perhaps near the Azores. Some stretched imagination further, proposing Antarctica itself was Atlantis, buried under ice. A few even claimed it was in South America or under the Sahara Desert. Atlantis, it seemed, could be anywhere, and perhaps that was its true power. It was a story adaptable to every landscape, every mystery left unexplained. But what makes Atlantis endure is not only geography. It is the haunting possibility that ancient people may have known more than we think. Modern archaeology has shown us again and again that civilizations thousands of years old achieved feats we struggle to explain even today. The Great Pyramid of Giza, aligned with the stars. Stonehenge, echoing astronomical cycles. The Nazca Lines, vast geoglyphs only visible from the sky. Each of these wonders fuels the idea that humanity has forgotten knowledge once held by our ancestors. Atlantis, in this sense, becomes a symbol of lost wisdom, a reminder that our history may be deeper, more complex than textbooks admit. And then there are the mysteries beneath the sea. Off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, divers discovered a strange formation of massive stones in 1968. The Bimini Road, as it was called, looked like a paved path leading into the ocean. Was it natural, or the remains of human construction? To believers, it was the first sign of Atlantis. To skeptics, it was nothing more than bedrock fractured by nature. Yet the allure remained. Near Cuba, sonar scans revealed possible megalithic structures deep underwater, raising whispers once more. Had an ancient city been drowned by rising seas? The ocean keeps its secrets well, and each anomaly becomes fuel for the fire. The fascination with Atlantis also inspired writers and visionaries far beyond archaeology. In the 20th century, mystics and occultists claimed to channel messages from Atlantean spirits. The famous psychic Edgar Cayce declared that Atlantis was real and that its survivors carried their knowledge to Egypt and Central America. He spoke of Atlantean technology powered by crystals, of flying machines, of a great destruction that would one day repeat if humanity did not change its ways. To Cayce's followers, Atlantis was both history and prophecy, a lost civilization and a warning for the future. And here lies the deeper truth: Atlantis is not just about the past, but about us. The Atlanteans, according to Plato, fell because of their arrogance and greed. They turned away from virtue and sought to dominate others. The gods struck them down, and their entire world vanished in a single night. Is this not the cycle we see in history? Great empires rise, drunk with power, only to collapse under their own weight. Rome, the Mongols, the colonial empires, all echo the same pattern. Atlantis, whether real or not, is the ultimate metaphor, a civilization that had it all, and lost it all, because it forgot its limits. Yet the dream refuses to die. Atlantis represents not only tragedy but hope. The hope that one day, if its ruins are found, humanity might rediscover forgotten sciences. Perhaps medicines long lost, or energy harnessed directly from the earth, or knowledge of the stars beyond what we now imagine. To some, Atlantis is not a memory but a destiny, a golden age we might achieve once more, if only we learn from the past. But is there truth behind the myth? Scientists continue to search. In 2011, researchers scanning the marshes of southern Spain discovered circular ruins that resembled Plato's description of Atlantis' concentric rings. Some suggested these were traces of the lost city. Others dismissed them as mere settlements. In Greece, the eruption of Santorini continues to be studied, revealing how a thriving civilization was obliterated in an instant, an echo of Plato's words. Even deep-sea technology, now able to map the ocean floor with unprecedented detail, may one day stumble upon something astonishing. Imagine the world's reaction if a true sunken city were found, massive and unmistakable, lying silent beneath the waves. It would rewrite history forever. Until that day, Atlantis remains suspended between reality and imagination. Perhaps it never existed. Perhaps it is everywhere, scattered in fragments of memory across cultures. Or perhaps it still waits, untouched, beneath waters too deep for us to reach. What we know for certain is this: the human heart cannot resist the mystery. To search for Atlantis is to search for ourselves, for the truths we fear and the dreams we chase. And so, as the waves continue to rise and fall, as divers descend into darkness with only a flicker of light, the name of Atlantis endures. It lingers not only as a legend of what was lost but as a mirror of what could be lost again. The ocean whispers, the earth trembles, and in our imaginations, the golden towers of Atlantis still shine, waiting for discovery. The more centuries passed, the more Atlantis grew, not in stone or reality, but in imagination. What began as a tale written by Plato became a canvas on which humanity painted its hopes, fears, and conspiracies. For some, Atlantis was a paradise lost; for others, it was evidence of hidden truths, deliberately concealed from the world. And in the 20th century, when science and mystery collided, Atlantis entered a new age, an age of speculation far wilder than Plato could have dreamed. It was no longer just a city beneath the waves. To some, it became the mother of all civilizations, the root from which Egypt, Mesopotamia, and even India's ancient Vedic culture had sprung. Others went further, whispering that Atlantis was not merely human but something else, an inheritance of knowledge given by beings from the stars. The idea of ancient aliens gained ground in the 20th century, and Atlantis became the perfect stage. What if the gods Plato spoke of were not gods at all, but visitors from another world? What if the technology of Atlantis, its alleged flying ships, crystal power, and immense knowledge, was a gift from them? And what if, when Atlantis fell, that knowledge was lost, leaving us only myths to remember? The thought is intoxicating. Imagine a civilization thousands of years before recorded history, capable of splitting stone with precision we cannot replicate, of building machines that defy gravity, of understanding the stars with clarity beyond modern telescopes. If such a world once existed, its destruction would explain the sudden gaps in human historia. The mysteries of how pyramids rose, how massive stones were moved, how cultures across oceans shared symbols and myths without contact. To believers, these are not coincidences but fingerprints of Atlantis. But if Atlantis was so advanced, why did it fall? Here the conspiracy deepens. Some say it was not the gods who punished Atlantis, but Atlantis itself. A civilization so powerful that it tampered with forces beyond its control. Energy from the Earth's core, weapons capable of splitting continents, or experiments that destabilized nature itself. In this version, Atlantis destroyed itself, much as our modern world fears nuclear war or climate collapse. The story becomes not only myth but prophecy, a warning that technology without wisdom leads only to ruin. Others go even further. In hidden corners of conspiracy literature, you will find claims that Atlantis did not truly vanish. Its survivors, armed with secret knowledge, went underground. Literally. They became the hidden rulers of the world, guiding empires in silence, preserving ancient wisdom for their own ends. In these stories, Atlantis is not gone. It lives in secret societies, in shadow governments, in the whispered name of the Illuminati. To believers, the legend of Atlantis is the greatest cover-up in history. And then there are those who say Atlantis never sank at all. Instead, it shifted. Its people escaped to the stars, or perhaps into another dimension, leaving only fragments of their story behind. Every UFO sighting, every unexplained object in the sky, becomes, in this telling, a glimpse of Atlantean descendants watching us from above. Science fiction embraced this idea, weaving Atlantis into tales of cosmic empires and interstellar journeys. The lost city was no longer just a ruin. It was a gateway to the universe. But why does Atlantis capture us so completely? Why, among all lost civilizations, does this one endure? Perhaps it is because Atlantis exists at the perfect crossroads of desire. It is advanced, yet ancient. Real, yet mysterious. Destroyed, yet never truly gone. It speaks to our deepest longing, that there was once a golden age, a time when humanity was wiser, purer, and closer to the gods, or to the stars. It also speaks to our deepest fear, that we could lose everything in a heartbeat, swallowed by the same pride and arrogance. Atlantis is not just a story, it is a mirror. Pop culture has only deepened this obsession. From novels to movies, cartoons to video games, Atlantis has appeared everywhere. In comic books, it is the home of Aquaman and Namor, kings of a sunken realm. In films, it has been portrayed as both utopia and dystopia, a shining kingdom and a dark, forgotten prison. In video games, players dive beneath the waves to uncover Atlantean ruins, battle mythical guardians, or wield lost technologies. Each retelling reshapes the myth, but the heart remains the Samaya, a world lost, yet waiting. Even Disney embraced it, with Atlantis, the Lost Empire, where explorers discover a living remnant of the civilization, hidden deep beneath the earth. This cultural saturation ensures that Atlantis will never truly vanish from human thought. Children grow up hearing of it, adults pass the legend forward. It becomes less history than inheritance, carried by imagination itself. But with popularity comes distortion. The Atlantis of Plato was a simple moral tale, a powerful empire that fell through arrogance. The Atlantis of today is 1,000 things at once: alien outpost, lost utopia, undersea kingdom, hidden conspiracy. Perhaps this is the greatest mystery of all. Not whether Atlantis existed, but how it has become everything we need it to be. When we seek hope, it becomes a golden age. When we seek warning, it becomes a cautionary tale. When we seek mystery, it becomes a puzzle without end. Atlantis adapts because Atlantis is us. And yet, despite the fantasy, the ocean remains silent. No ruins rise from the depths, no clear evidence emerges. Scientists remind us that until proof is found, Atlantis is only a story. But even science cannot erase its power. We may never find Atlantis in stone or sand, but we will always find it in ourselves, in the hunger for discovery, in the belief that somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be uncovered. Imagine, for a moment, what would happen if tomorrow the ocean gave up its secret. If a team of divers stumbled upon shining ruins deep beneath the sea, temples still standing, walls inscribed with a language unknown, the world would change overnight. History would be rewritten, religions shaken, science humbled. Humanity would realize it was not the first to reach greatness, nor perhaps the last. The discovery of Atlantis would not only rewrite the past euro, it would redefine the future. Until that day, we dream. And in our dreams, the towers of Atlantis still rise, shimmering with crystal light, crowned with golden spires, humming with forgotten power. The waves crash above, but in the darkness below, the city waits. Atlantis is more than a legenda euro, it is the eternal heartbeat of mystery, the one story we cannot let go. The 21st century has given us tools that Plato could never have imagined. Satellites circle the Earth, sonar scans map the ocean floor, and supercomputers analyze data from the deepest seas. And yet, despite all this technology, the mystery of Atlantis endures. The ocean is vast, covering more than 70% of our planet, and less than 10% of its floor has been mapped in high resolution. In those unexplored depths, entire mountain ranges lie hidden, trenches plunge deeper than the Himalayas are tall, and ecosystems thrive in eternal darkness. Could Atlantis still be concealed there, a forgotten city lying silently beneath miles of water? Scientists have tried. From the coast of Spain to the Caribbean, from the Mediterranean to the icy wastes of Antarctica, expeditions have searched for traces of a lost civilization. Some findings raise eyebrows. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar scans have suggested the presence of massive geometric structures more than 600 meters underwater. Researchers described shapes resembling pyramids and roads. If proven, these would be older than any known civilization. But the depth makes exploration nearly impossible. The sight remains tantalizing, a ghostly whisper from the sea floor. In the Mediterranean, the eruption of Santorini nearly 4,000 years ago destroyed the flourishing Minoan civilization. Entire cities were buried in ash, their frescoes frozen in time, their streets preserved like Pompeii. To many scholars, this is the closest match to Plato Euro's tale. A thriving maritime culture, wiped out by a sudden disaster, its ruins swallowed by the sea. Perhaps Plato exaggerated, stretching the story across time and space. Perhaps Atlantis was not in the Atlantic at all, but right here in the cradle of Europe. And yet, the details never fit perfectly. Plato described a land larger than Libya and Asia combined, rich in elephants, crossed by vast canals, and guarded by concentric rings of land and sea. Santorini was powerful, yes, but small. The story of Atlantis seems bigger, grander, more mythic. Could it be that Plato drew upon fragments of different memorias euro, disasters remembered across ages euro, and wove them into one tale? Modern geology has also weighed in. We now know that at the end of the last ice age, 12,000 years ago, sea levels rose dramatically. As glaciers melted, coastlines shifted. Entire regions once habitable are now underwater. Doggerland, in the North Sea, was a lush plain connecting Britain to Europe, now drowned. Off India Euro's coast, ruins of an ancient settlement have been discovered beneath the waves. Could Atlantis be one of these forgotten lands, erased not by gods but by the slow hand of climate and time? And then there is Antarctica. Beneath miles of ice lies a hidden continent, larger than Europe. Some theorists insist that it was once warm, fertile, home to rivers and forests, before shifting to the South Pole. Maps from the 16th century, like the famous Piri-Reis map, appear to show Antarctica Euro's coastline without ice. How could explorers of the past have known? Was this knowledge inherited from a civilization far older, one that thrived before the ice came? In this vision, Atlantis is not beneath the sea but beneath the ice, waiting to be revealed as the world warms once more. Yet mainstream science remains cautious. To archaeologists, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And so far, no conclusive proof has surfaced. The ruins of Atlantis remain elusive. The ocean floor holds mysteries, yes, but it also plays tricks. Rock formations can look man-made, sonar images can mislead, legends can exaggerate. Skeptics argue that chasing Atlantis distracts from real discoveries the known civilizations that flourished and fell, whose ruins lie in plain sight. To them, Atlantis is a myth, a story about pride and downfall, not a history lesson. But here lies the paradox: even if Atlantis is not real, its impact on our world is undeniable. The legend has shaped exploration, inspired invention, fueled art and literature. Entire generations of explorers set sail with Atlantis in their hearts, believing that somewhere, a golden land awaited. Writers have woven it into their stories, artists have painted its imagined towers, filmmakers have brought it to life on screen. Atlantis is proof that stories can be as powerful as facts, that myths can move civilizations. And beyond art, there is philosophy. Atlantis asks us to reflect on the fragility of greatness. A society at its peak, brought down not by poverty or weakness but by arrogance. The Atlanteans, Plato said, once lived in harmony with the gods, but as their wealth and power grew, they forgot humility. They desired more, hungered for conquest, and lost themselves in greed. Their downfall was inevitable. In this way, Atlantis is not about the sea at all euro, it is about us. Every empire that has risen and fallen carries the echo of Atlantis. Romea Euro's ambition, the Mongols' Euro conquests, the colonial powers that stretched across the globe Euro, all believed themselves invincible, and all eventually crumbled. Atlantis is the pattern, the eternal reminder that no civilization is immune to hubris. Today, as our world faces crises of its own Euro, climate change, political turmoil, weapons capable of ending all life Euro, the story feels more urgent than ever. Are we too walking the path of Atlantis? Have we grown so confident in our technology, so blind to our own arrogance, that we risk repeating the same fate? Plato Euro's warning rings louder than ever. Civilizations that forget humility, that chase domination at all costs, invite destruction. Atlantis may be a myth, but its lesson is real. And yet, Atlantis is not only warning. It is also promise. The promise that somewhere in the depths, secrets of unimaginable value might still lie hidden. If ruins were found, if texts were uncovered, if knowledge from the past resurfaced, it could change everything. Medicine, energy, even our understanding of the universe might leap forward. For dreamers, Atlantis is Hope Euro, a beacon calling us to search, to imagine, to believe that humanity Euro's story is far older and far greater than we know. So the search continues. Submarines dive deeper, satellites scan wider, and explorers push further. Each discovery, no matter how small, keeps the flame alive. The ocean has not given up its secrets yet, but someday it might. Someday the waves may part, revealing a forgotten city waiting for the light of human eyes once more. Until that day, Atlantis remains both lost and found. Lost in the depths of time, yet found in every culture, every story, every dream of what humanity once was or might be again. Perhaps this is the true power of Atlantis Euro, not in whether it existed, but in how it makes us question, imagine, and reflect. Atlantis lives not beneath the sea but within us, in the eternal human desire to seek what is hidden, to hope for what is lost, and to learn from what has been forgotten. Why does Atlantis stay in our minds long after we close the book, switch off the screen, or walk away from the shore? Why does this one lost city, out of all the vanished cultures of the past, continue to shine in our imagination like a light beneath the waves? The answer lies not only in history, but in psychology. Atlantis is not just a story about the pasta Euro, it is a story about ourselves, about what we fear, what we dream, and what we long for. At its core, the myth of Atlantis touches the most universal of human emotions, loss. Every culture has legends of golden ages, of times when humanity was closer to the divine, when the world was simpler, purer, and brighter. The Garden of Eden, the Age of Kronos, the Satya Yuga, these are memories of innocence, of perfection shattered. Atlantis fits into this pattern Euro, a paradise destroyed in a single night. To imagine Atlantis is to feel the ache of nostalgia for a world we never knew but somehow remember. It is a wound in our collective memory, a whisper that we once had more, and lost it. And then there is the fear. Atlantis represents the fragility of civilization. We like to believe our cities, our technology, our power will endure forever. But Atlantis reminds us that nothing is eternal. One earthquake, one flood, one war Euro, and everything we have built could vanish beneath the waves of time. This fear is not abstract. We see it in the ruins of Pompeii, in the broken statues of the Maya, in the fallen stones of Angkor Wat. History is a graveyard of civilizations, each once confident in its immortality. Atlantis is simply the most haunting symbol of all, because it tells us not only that we can fall, but that we can disappear completely, leaving only myth behind. Yet alongside fear, Atlantis also awakens longing. Longing for hidden knowledge, for secret wisdom that could transform our lives. Imagine if Atlantis were found tomorrow. Imagine divers descending into the deep and discovering libraries carved in stone, scrolls preserved in sealed chambers, machines that hum with forgotten power. Overnight, our understanding of the world would shatter. History would be rewritten, religions challenged, science humbled. The discovery of Atlantis would not just be archaeology it would be revolution. Picture the headlines. A lost civilization found beneath the ocean. The world would erupt in awe and chaos. Nations would scramble to claim the site, scientists would rush to study it, and billions of people would watch with eyes wide open. Would the secrets be shared, or hidden once more? Would they unite humanity in wonder, or divide us in greed? Atlantis could heal us or destroy us again. This possibility is why Atlantis has so much power. It is not just a city. It is a key, a treasure chest of what we could become. In our minds, Atlantis is filled with wonders crystal energy, flying ships, medicine that cures all disease, wisdom that transcends death. None of these may be real, but the dream itself drives us. Atlantis is the embodiment of our eternal hope that there is more to humanity than what we see, that somewhere, somehow, a greater truth lies hidden. The cultural symbolism of Atlantis is just as profound. For centuries, it has been used as metaphor. To some, it represents hubris the arrogance of empires. To others, it is the memory of catastrophe, the echo of floods and quakes that scarred ancient peoples. In literature, it becomes a symbol of utopia and dystopia, a paradise and a warning. In politics, it has been twisted to justify superiority, with false claims that certain nations were heirs of Atlantis. In spirituality, it has become a beacon of hidden wisdom, a lost light waiting to return. Atlantis, like a mirror, reflects whatever we need it to reflect. And in this lies the secret of its survival. Atlantis endures because it adapts. In the hands of Plato, it was a moral lesson. In the Renaissance, it was a hidden land awaiting discovery. In the 19th century, it was the mother of all civilizations. In the 20th, it became a stage for aliens, mystics, and science fiction. In the 21st, it is both a mystery to be solved and a symbol of ecological warning. Atlantis does not fade because it evolves with us. Each generation reinvents it, reshapes it, keeps it alive. But what if it is not just a symbol? What if there truly was an Atlantis, a real civilization erased from memory? If we found it, what would it tell us about humanity's true history? Could it reveal that we are far older, far more advanced, than we dare to believe? Could it prove that civilizations rise and fall in cycles, and that we are simply the latest? The thought is both humbling and terrifying. We may not be the first to stand at the edge of greatness, nor the last to fall into the sea. Some scientists argue that Atlantis may represent not one civilization, but many. That the legend is a fusion of Memorias Ice Age floods, volcanic eruptions, cities swallowed by rising seas. Each culture passed down its own tale of destruction, until they merged into one grand myth. In this sense, Atlantis is not a single place but a symbol of them all, the eternal story of human fragility. Every city we build, every empire we raise, carries the shadow of Atlantis. And perhaps this is the point. Atlantis is not waiting to be found it has already been found, again and again, in every ruin, in every flood, in every collapse of history. It is the name we give to the moment when power exceeds wisdom, when arrogance invites destruction. Atlantis is Pompeii. Atlantis is the Mayan collapse. Atlantis is Chernobyl. Atlantis is every dream of eternity shattered in a moment. We do not need to dive into the ocean to see we need only look around. Yet still, we dream. Because dreams are what make us human, and Atlantis is the greatest dream of all. It is the dream that we can recover what was lost, that we can learn from the past, that we can rise again, wiser and stronger. This is why Atlantis will never die. Because as long as we hope, as long as we fear, as long as we imagine, Atlantis will live on in our stories, in our art, in our hearts. And so the legend continues, carried by waves of time, whispered in every generation. Perhaps one day, the sea will give up its secret. Perhaps one day, the towers of Atlantis will shine again in the sunlight. Until then, Atlantis remains the eternal mystery, the perfect story half warning, half promise, all wonder. The sea is eternal. It swallows and it preserves, it destroys and it remembers. For thousands of years, people have stood at its edge, staring at the horizon, wondering what lies beneath. And always, somewhere in the back of their minds, Atlantis is waiting. Perhaps it is buried under layers of coral, its once proud temples now home to fish and shadows. Perhaps it is scattered across the seabed, broken into fragments by time, a puzzle the ocean guards fiercely. Or perhaps it never existed at all, except in the imagination of a philosopher who wished to teach a lesson about pride. But does that matter? Atlantis has become something greater than stone and sand. It is not only a place euro, it is an idea. It is the dream of a civilization more advanced, more beautiful, more harmonious than our own. It is the fear of losing everything in an instant, of being reminded that no empire, no matter how mighty, can stand forever against nature. And it is the hope that one day, humanity can learn from the mistakes of the past and build something that endures. Close your eyes and picture it. A city rising from the sea, gleaming white stone bathed in sunlight, towers that stretch toward the sky, bridges arched across canals of crystal blue water. The air hums with music, with the voices of people who believe they have reached perfection. For a moment, it seems eternal. Athena Euro, the earth trembles, the sea roars, and the dream vanishes beneath the waves. A heartbeat of paradise, gone forever. The story of Atlantis is, in truth, the story of us. Every generation has its own Atlantis, its own golden age remembered or imagined, its own warning of collapse. It asks us the same questions again and again. What is the price of power? How fragile is civilization? How do we live knowing everything can be swept away? Perhaps that is why the tale endures. Because in Atlantis we see a reflection euro, not only of who we were, but of who we are, and who we may yet become. It is a mirror of humanity, showing us both our highest dreams and our deepest flaws. And just as the sea reflects the sky, Atlantis reflects the soul. If tomorrow divers descended into the deep and found the city, intact and waiting, would it change us? Would we finally learn humility? Would we finally understand that knowledge without wisdom is destruction? Or would we repeat the same mistakes, using ancient secrets to build new weapons, new empires, new arrogance? Atlantis, whether real or not, forces us to confront that question. And maybe that is its greatest power. The ruins may never be found, but the lesson is here, now, written in the tide of history. We can see it in every fallen empire, every forgotten city, every moment when human ambition outran human wisdom. We carry Atlantis with us, not in the sea, but in our choices. Somewhere, deep beneath the waves, perhaps Atlantis does sleep, its temples silent, its streets empty, its great halls filled only with the sigh of currents. Or perhaps it was only ever a story, spun to remind us that no matter how high we rise, the ocean of time waits to claim us. Either way, the legend has outlived the city. The myth has become immortal. And that is the final irony. Atlantis, the city that fell, will never truly fall. Not while we tell its story. Not while we whisper its name. Not while we dream of what was lost, and what might still be found. The waves roll on, carrying secrets. The horizon glows with mystery. And in the silence of the deep, Atlantis waits euro, not as ruins, not as stones, but as a question, eternal and unanswerable. What if it is true? What if the sea remembers more than we know? What if the greatest story of all time is not finished yet? The tide pulls back, the sea whispers, and once again, Atlantis rises in the mind, shining, glorious, forever lost, forever alive.